In the first part, we had seen that cancer is a disorder of cell growth. Normally, cells grow or cells divide to replace the older cells. When some cells become senescent, they become old, they are replaced by new cells. The rate of cell division is precisely regulated. That's why the total number of cells in adults remains more or less constant. But sometimes the regulation of cell division is disrupted. And because of this disruption, the cells begin to divide excessively and uncontrollably. And this excessive cell division can transform the normal cells into cancer cells. So, cancer cells divide excessively. Secondly, they can invade neighboring tissues. And thirdly, they can spread to distant sites. We had seen that when a normal cell transforms into a cancer cell, some change occurs in the DNA of the cell. That's why when the cancer cell divides, the daughter cells are also cancer cells. Then we had seen that the transformation of normal cells into cancer cells may be brought about by some chemical agents, it may be brought about by some physical agents, and it may be brought about by some biological agents. The chemical agents that can transform normal cells into cancer cells are mutagenic chemicals. These are the chemicals that cause mutations in the DNA. So they change the DNA of the affected cell. The physical agents that can transform normal cells into cancer cells are different kinds of ionizing radiation. And these radiations are also known to damage DNA. The biological agents are viruses, DNA viruses, as well as RNA viruses. And when these viruses infect a healthy cell, the DNA of the virus is inserted into the DNA of the infected cell. So again, there is a change in the DNA of the cell. So all the agents that transform normal cells into cancer cells cause some change in the DNA of the affected cell. The viruses that can cause cancer are known as oncoviruses. The first oncovirus was discovered by Rous, and it was named after him as Rous sarcoma virus. And this virus causes sarcoma, a cancer of connective tissue in the chickens. Later on, a number of other viruses were found to be oncoviruses, viruses that can cause cancer in animals as well as in human beings. Then the DNA or the genome of these viruses was investigated. It was found that the oncoviruses possess certain genes which are known as oncogenes, and it is these oncogenes that transform the normal cells into cancer cells. So when these oncogenes are inserted in the DNA of an infected cell, the cell transforms into a cancer cell. Rous sarcoma virus was found to possess an oncogene which was named as SRC gene. Later on, a number of other oncogenes were discovered in other oncoviruses, and these oncogenes include RAS, CIS, MYB, MYC, ABL, TRK, FOS, RB, etc. So these are the oncogenes which are present in different oncoviruses, and when these viruses infect an animal cell or a human cell, these oncogenes are inserted in the DNA of the infected cell. Later on, Some genes which were very similar to the viral oncogenes were discovered in healthy human beings and also in healthy animals. And these genes were named as proto-oncogenes. So proto-oncogenes are present in healthy human beings, they are present in healthy animals, and they are similar to the viral oncogenes. And after the discovery of proto-oncogenes, it was suggested that sometimes these proto-oncogenes can be transformed into oncogenes, and when this transformation occurs, when a proto-oncogene is changed into an oncogene, the cell will be transformed into a cancer cell. Conversion of proto-oncogenes into oncogenes may be brought about by DNA damaging agents like radiations, different types of ionizing radiation that can damage DNA. They can convert a proto-oncogene into an oncogene. The mutagenic chemicals can cause mutations in DNA. They can cause mutations in proto-oncogenes. So proto-oncogenes may be converted into oncogenes. And of course, the viruses, the oncoviruses, can insert their oncogenes into the DNA of the infected cells. Abnormal functioning of proto-oncogenes. Abnormal functioning may be because of a change in the base sequence of the proto-oncogenes, or sometimes the base sequence remains unaffected, but the gene starts functioning abnormally. So this abnormal functioning of proto-oncogenes is said to be a critical event that pushes a normal cell into malignant transformation. So a normal cell changes into a cancer cell. Proto-oncogenes are present in healthy human beings, they are present in many animals also, and they are present in normal cells. So if these genes have been given to us by nature, they must have some function because no gene is without function. The function of genes, all the genes, is to encode some proteins. So these proto-oncogenes also must be encoding some proteins. And these proteins must have some function. And it was found that the proteins which are encoded by the proto-oncogenes are related to cell division, cell growth. These are the proteins that are essential for normal cell division and normal cell growth. The proteins which are encoded by proto-oncogenes can be divided into number one, growth factors. Growth factors, as we will see, are similar to protein hormones. They are secreted by one group of cells and they act on a different group of cells, which are known as their target cells. The target cells possess receptors for growth factors, the receptors that can recognize and that can bind the growth factors. And these receptors are also proteins. So the second group of proteins which are encoded by proto-oncogenes are the receptors for growth factors. And the third group is signal transducers. Like protein hormones, the growth factors also require signal transducers in the target cells to transmit the signal from the receptor to the effector. These signal transducers are also proteins, and these proteins are encoded by the proto-oncogenes. So all the proteins which are encoded by proto-oncogenes, the growth factors, the receptors for growth factors, and the signal transducers for growth factors are related to growth of cells. They are related to cell division. Growth factors, as we had just seen, resemble protein hormones. They are secreted by one group of cells and they act on their target cells and they stimulate the cell division, the growth of the target cells. The target cells possess receptors for growth factors which are transmembrane proteins. So the growth factor binds to the receptor on the surface of the target cell. We see a target cell here. It possesses transmembrane receptors for a particular growth factor. So when this growth factor is secreted, it is present in circulation, and when it finds the complementary receptors on some target cell, it binds to the receptors, and then a biological response occurs in the target cell. The growth factors may act on distant cells. The target cells may be distant, and this is similar to endocrine action. Sometimes the growth factors act on the neighboring cells, and this action is similar to paracrine action. The target cells are close to the sites of secretion of the growth factors, and sometimes the cells which secrete the growth factor are also the target cell for the same growth factor. So this is autocrine action. So growth factors may act on distant cells, they may act on neighboring cells, or sometimes they act on the cells which have secreted the growth factors. On top left we see autocrine action. A cell is secreting a growth factor, and the growth factor acts on the same cell. On top right we see paracrine action of a growth factor. A cell secretes a growth factor, and the growth factor acts on a neighboring cell. And at the bottom we see endocrine action. Some cells secrete growth factor. The growth factor enters the circulation, it travels to distant sites, and it acts on distant target cells. Like protein hormones, the growth factors also require a second messenger. The second messenger is formed in the target cell when the growth factor binds to its receptor on the surface of the target cell. The second messenger may be tyrosine kinase, it may be cyclic AMP, it may be a combination of diacylglycerol and inositol triphosphate. The cytoplasmic portion of the receptor. Now we have seen that the receptor is a transmembrane protein. It is present partly outside the cell, partly embedded in the cell membrane, and a part of the receptor projects into the cytoplasm of the cell. The site which binds the growth factor is present outside the cell, on the surface of the cell. The cytoplasmic portion of the receptor may possess tyrosine kinase activity. So upon binding of growth factor to the receptor, some tyrosine residues in the cytoplasmic portion of the receptor may be phosphorylated, or the cytoplasmic portion of the receptor may send signals to adenylate cyclase. The adenylate cyclase becomes active and it converts ATP into cyclic AMP, which is a second messenger. Or the cytoplasmic portion of the receptor may activate phosphoinositidase in the target cell, and this will lead to production of diacylglycerol and inositol triphosphates. The protein hormones generally require a G protein also, which acts as a signal transducer, which transmits the signal from the receptor to the effector. So the growth factors may also require a G protein for signal transduction. So here we see an example of a target cell. The growth factor, which is present in circulation, binds to the receptor. Receptor is located in the cell membrane. The growth factor binding site is on the surface of the cell, and when the growth factor binds to the receptor, a signal transducer is formed. The signal transducer goes to the effector. The effector in this case is cell cycle control system. the regulatory mechanism that controls cell division or mitosis. So this growth factor will ultimately stimulate mitosis or cell division of the target cell. These are some of the examples of growth factors which are found in human beings. Platelet-derived growth factor or PDGF, epidermal growth factor EGF, nerve growth factor or NGF, fibroblast growth factor or FGF, insulin-like growth factor 1, insulin-like growth factor 2, and there are several others. So all these growth factors act on their target cells and they stimulate the growth of the target cell. When a proto-oncogene becomes abnormal, either because of exposure to some chemical agents or because of exposure to some physical agents or because of some viral infection, the abnormality in the protogene will affect the protein which is encoded by the proto-oncogene. The proteins which are encoded by proto-oncogenes are growth factors, receptors for growth factors, and signal transducers for growth factors. So, a growth factor can become abnormal, or a receptor can become abnormal, or a signal transducer can become abnormal because of an abnormality in a proto-oncogene. And this abnormality in growth factor or receptor or transducer may be quantitative or it may be qualitative. Quantitative means the quantity of the protein, the growth factor or the receptor or the transducer becomes abnormal. Or the abnormality is qualitative, that is, the amount of the protein is normal, but the functioning of the protein can become abnormal. Whether it is a qualitative abnormality or quantitative abnormality, it results in persistent stimulation of growth. Cell division is stimulated persistently. The cell continues to divide, begins to divide and continues to divide uncontrollably. And because of this excessive and uncontrollable cell division, the cell transforms into a cancer cell. Some of the proto-oncogenes encode nuclear transcription factors. So we have seen that most of the proto-oncogenes encode growth factors or their receptors or their signal transducers, but some of the proto-oncogenes encode transcription factors. Transcription factors are proteins that bind to DNA and they increase the expression of some genes. And in this case, in case of proto-oncogenes, these are the genes which affect cell division or cell growth. So we see an example here of a gene. The gene is preceded by a promoter. The enzyme RNA polymerase II binds to the promoter, and then some transcription factors bind to the RNA polymerase II, and they increase the rate of transcription of the gene. These are some of the examples of proteins that are encoded by proto-oncogenes. First, we have an example of a gene that encodes a growth factor. The gene is cis gene, which encodes platelet-derived growth factor. The second example is of a gene that encodes a receptor for growth factor. The example is TRK gene. TRK gene encodes the receptor for nerve growth factor. The third example is that of a gene encoding a signal transducer. The gene is RAS gene. RAS gene encodes a GDP-GTP binding protein that acts as a signal transducer. And the last example is of a gene that encodes a transcription factor. FOS gene encodes a transcription factor known as AP1. If we look at the names of proto-oncogenes, the nomenclature is not systematic. Some of the names are based on the disease which is associated with the proto-oncogenes. Some names are based on the protein which is encoded by the proto-oncogenes, and some names are actually the name of some scientists. Say RAS or RAS, the name is derived from rat sarcoma. RA from rat and S from sarcoma. So this is the disease which is associated with the RAS proto-oncogene. TRK, the name is derived from an enzyme which is encoded by this gene. The enzyme is tropomyosin receptor kinase. Similarly, ERK is a name derived from an enzyme extracellular signal regulated kinase. MYB, the name is derived from myeloblastosis, a disease. Similarly, MYC is a name derived from the disease myelocytomatosis. ABL is named after a scientist, Abelson. So the names of the proto-oncogenes are derived from some diseases, from some proteins, and maybe they are named after some scientists. In the next video, we will look at the mechanisms by which the proto-oncogenes become abnormal, either qualitatively abnormal or quantitatively abnormal. Thank you.